The flames are moving down this hill very fast, and the wind's very strong as well. We're getting blown around, and there's dirt being flown up everywhere. Look at the spinning inside that cloud of smoke up there. It's getting very intense. We're on East Mountain Drive, just north of Westmont College. We know that the T-fire has affected this area in years past, and now it looks like it's burning once again. Huge flame links right now. We saw several engines driving up this hill. Very dangerous situation for them. We know these roads back here are very thin and very small area to move through, but these guys are going up there. I'm not sure what they'll be able to do, though. The winds are so strong. I don't know how close they can get, but we're literally seeing the fire churning through these hills, and all that dry brush up there, even though it may be a burn scar area, all that's still going to go up when you have this much wind. And Connor, if we can pull out a little bit and just kind of show perspective of where the wind is pushing everything, the fire is literally, as you see those little fire nados there, the wind is being pushed, pushing all this smoke right over Montecito and into Santa Barbara. If you're standing near Stearns Wharf right now, we drove by there on the freeway coming this way, it's almost dark. It's almost nighttime outside, and you can see all the wind just being. Look at that huge fire NATO up on the hill slope there. I do want to tell you, we are far enough away right now. We have our car parked and ready to go just in case we have to. But the winds are very strong, and we know that in a fire, the fire really creates its own weather pattern. And there are these huge eucalyptus trees that are kind of around us. We're watching those too, because those are not great in wind. We're hearing popping as well. We just heard a pop. Could be a power line or some kind of power box that is in this area. It's getting closer and closer to homes. We're standing probably 45 yards from a structure right now, and to the right of us there's a ton of homes. That's where all of them are located. There's a car coming right now, and it's not an emergency vehicle. I don't know where they're going. I really encourage you not to drive up this way if you absolutely don't have to. It's not a good place to be. If you are still in this area, I really encourage you to leave, as firefighters would as well. This was a mandatory evacuation zone where we are. Nobody's allowed to be driving on the 192. It's all blocked off by the CHP, but we have seen people in there spraying down their houses, hitting their roof tiles with water. But the smoke is so bad, guys, and you can really see it just churning up there. If we pull out a little bit, Connor, and you can kind of see how the smoke is moving almost in a circular pattern up there as we keep getting these fire nados in this area just north of Westmont. But the wind I've been out on this fire for more than a week now. We haven't had winds like this. I don't think the whole time the firefight in the Thomas fire has been going on. It's just it's unbelievable right now, guys. Yeah, CJ, that's right. We're way up on Gibraltar Road. If you know it weaves back here, and we're getting a good look at the Thomas fire as it makes its push farthest west. Look at the size of those flames deep in there, this black smoke just billowing up. One of the fire crews, the Forest Service guys, just drove by and said, you guys got to make sure you're on your toes because this thing, with the winds up here, which are very strong, it's blowing like crazy. It's going to come this way, he said, just in a matter of hours, it could be. We'll see. But we're getting a good look at it now. Down below, when we were in Montecito along East Mountain Drive, we couldn't see the flames. They were burning back in the canyon. Well, now we're getting a good look at it. It's still maybe two ridges away from us, but we are seeing those large flames, and as Dave Zanaboni told me probably a half hour ago, it's really churning back here, and the weather is very different. The wind so strong, it's really blowing us all over the place right now as it's up here, and a totally different situation than down below in Montecito and along East Mountain Drive, where we've seen a lot of activity and where those hot shots were working. You can see just that deep black smoke as we pan up a little bit here. You can see how dark it is in there, and it really, I know Alan and Kelsey have talked about this a lot, how it can create its own weather pattern up in the smoke, and we're really seeing that enormous cloud again as we continue to pull out a little bit. We'll show you a little perspective of what it looks like. We're still a ways away, but we're able to zoom in. Just look at the size of that cloud. They call them pyrocumulus clouds. These fires create these enormous smoke plumes, and super, super windy right now. I'll come back in the camera just to show you how we're getting blown around. Very different conditions than how it was just down below, a couple of miles down the road.
Hey Joe, you know, when you guys zoomed in to that huge cloud, it's kind of to the base of it. We noticed, at least in our framing, we could see all the power lines. We also see them right behind you. It looks like there's a lot of power running through these foothills.
Yeah, there's a lot of these big power lines. They kind of look like mini Eiffel Towers. That's the best way I can describe them. These power lines that are on the left side over there as we kind of push in. There's still a ridge away, I'd say, from where the fire is right now, but there's a whole lot of power that runs through this area, and that's got to be a bit of a concern. We saw this in Toro Canyon as well, back on like Tuesday night when the fire ripped through there. Monday night, there's a lot of power that runs through the backcountry here and then down into the city to bring power to all of us down in the communities that are out of the hills. So we are watching that. They're in the foreground here, these power lines. But you can see the smoke. It's almost turning counterclockwise in the middle up there, and some big flames that we can see coming out from the center there, deep into the smoke. You can I don't know if you can see it, if it really plays well with the camera, but here in person you can see it really churning and turning from the wind. It almost looks like if you were shooting one of those storm chasers inside of a hurricane or something. They kind of fly into the eye. It almost looks like it's billowing up like that as it's continuing to burn. And again, we're way up on Gibraltar Road right now. I'm not sure the altitude up here, but it's quite a bit, and we're one of the higher peaks that you can see. And we are getting a lot of wind, which has got to be a concern as we move later into the day, and then these winds become the sundowners that everybody fears, especially with this fire as it's going.
Boy, what a contrast. Joey, I know you can't see it, but when we pull back and we shoot it from TV Hill, it almost looks calm. Because all we see really is the smoke. What we can't see is that inferno that's twisting behind you. But it's a great vantage point to show how much fire is still up there.
Yeah, it's a completely different world when you're up this way, and now the smoke's really starting to push towards the west, towards Santa Barbara, as we kind of look out on the horizon over there toward the ocean as well. Just a bank of smoke is starting to move that way because we're getting a ton of the wind, and it's got a little blue over here in this section, but it continues to be pushing west. So you're going to see a lot of smoke probably coming towards TV Hill that direction. But again, it's a completely different scene up here on Gibraltar Road where we're standing right now, and up in the mountains as you get back to where this fire is still burning, it's probably even windier. As Dave Zannaboni was saying, it's a completely different condition. This is kind of what we were feeling around 7:30 this morning in Montecito when we first talked to Dave, and he was really worried. We were standing at Cold Spring School getting our first little update from him this morning around 8 o'clock, and the look on his face was not good. It was much better about an hour ago when we spoke to him, but now, as he mentioned, the winds picking up again, and we're seeing it as we're up in the hills, getting a much better look at the fire that continues to burn and the smoke, just this amazing amount of black smoke that is heading up into the air.
You can just feel the tension when we're talking to the fire officials. They know what they're dealing with. They are doing everything humanly possible to try to calm this, and it is such a massive beast.
Yeah, it's a big one. I think it was 60 miles long and 40 miles wide yesterday. I can't imagine what it is today. It's had to have churned through a whole bunch of acres in the backcountry. And remember, this is just one side of this fire. There's Fillmore, there's up near where the Zaca fire is as well. Those are all different areas of this fire. Obviously, we're most concerned about right here because that's where we are right now, and Santa Barbara and Montecito are right below. But Fillmore is dealing with this too, and the winds there have been bad. So there are really three fronts of this fire. Fillmore, where we are in the Montecito Hills, up on Gibraltar Road, Santa Barbara, and then down in the Zaca burn area, way back in the Los Padres National Forest. So there's a whole lot that firefighters, obviously this is a big concern because of all the properties that are just down below. But I think the wind conditions are really going to turn into something that we need to watch the rest of the day. I'm literally standing probably as wide as I can just to make sure that I'm not getting blown away up here. The winds are very strong. Power lines are even kind of shaking like this as they move in the wind. So we're getting a big look at it up here. We'll zoom in once again, kind of look at the firefight as it's up there. Actually, it's not much of a fight. I can't imagine they're flying anything in this conditions, which is probably why we haven't seen those big tankers come in. I know we were asking Dave about the DC-10 and all the air tankers and the flight support that they use and the helicopters. We saw the helicopters down below, but up here, we haven't had anything in sight. Actually, there is a plane kind of flying way up, though, and it's gotta be I couldn't tell you how many feet in the air, but it's a little tiny white speck that I see with the naked eye, and they're just observing this thing from up above. Hopefully they're able to hit it at some point, but the wind conditions are super breezy, super windy up here. We're telling you about the big one up there. Obviously we're all looking at that, but the embers are the big problem, and that's why everybody down below can be in danger. We got another fire that's much closer now. It's just burned into these hills, which is actually near where those fire crews are. So this has traveled over maybe 1 or 2 ridges and is now past that Phos-Chek line that is on that top mountain peak right there, and it's burning another section. That's the danger of the winds. It carries these embers that can take them miles, and then another big fire starts. So we're going to show you this, and then we're going to get the heck out of here and go back down. So we'll toss things back to you. We wanted to let you know that this is spotting in different places, and we're leaving.
All right, Jim.